Hello, welcome to the TV room. David Bradley here. So I have had videos going up live, or ongoing, because I had a whole bunch recorded, but I haven't been recording much in the last couple of weeks because I got a nasty, wicked cold. At least as far as I know, that's what it was. And it's still not quite over, but it sure knocks the steam out of you when you're feeling this tired and bad, etc. So, so begins a day of reckoning. So there are many things to do, including a while back I was working on some 1571s, and I ran into trouble. I pulled the trace off, and then life happened, and they've been sitting. And the table where I was working on them has become, well, imagine that, a disaster zone. So I need to get back to them and see. I'm pleased that I did, and all the stuff, and there are videos going back into this, determined that indeed the power supplies are good, the drive mechanisms are good. It's the trouble is on the circuit board. But the trouble on the circuit board is that, I think there's 8 or 9 different things that can cause the drive to do the same thing, and that is turn on and just sit and spin. So there are many things to check, and of course, are they socketed? No, they're not. But I've been working on it. I have been working on it. But not much for a while, which I really need to get back to. So first, of course, I need to tidy up the table and get things organized that I can have another go at the 1571s and see what's what. So, but of course, there is also things happening up here, and I've got some chips sitting over there that belong in this machine. I think they do. Hang on. Yeah, they do. Because I was working on that one, and I wanted to check all the socketed chips before, and they were all set up nicely. And of course, I have something kind of blocking the way over there, but then along comes Penny, and not that she's trying to do anything bad, but anyway, they're kind of shuffled a bit, so I have to sort through that. Anyway, there's much to do, and I need to get back to the pet room because I have a couple of the oldest machines down there that are they're working, but there are irregularities going on. So I have much to do, and of course, it is now the long weekend in May, which means I have other things to do outside. I've been attacking the dandelions and other things, but everything is harder when you're feeling tired. One thing I did do in the midst of all this, and people would say, "Ooh, you must have gone some." Anyway, I did sort of grab hold of the long part of my beard, and I took scissors and I trimmed it. So I think I'm more Santa-like. Maybe I'll try and find a Santa hat, stick it on, and see what's what. In other words, besides all the things of life, such as dishes, laundry, hanging out with Andrew, and also getting the grass cut and other things put away and other things sorted. And yes, we have a pool, and I've pretty much drained it, but I've got a lot of cleaning to do back there. And there's just tons and tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of stuff to do. So I need to get on it. Anyway, as I said before, I need to keep areas clean and tidy, and sometimes it works. This isn't bad, but this is supposed to be the soldering table. But of course, it's full of computers and disk drives and things. So yeah, I think one of the things I also need to do is, and I've spoken of this, is really come up with areas that are specific to specific things, so I can just shuffle things in and out, because I've got monitors to test and all kinds of things. And ultimately, this should be the soldering table where I bring things like the operating room to do surgery on. Yes. Anyway, things happen. They do. I had a question from a fellow wondering, well, how much is a working pet worth? Well, That's a fine question. It depends on a number of things. Condition, in terms of like the cosmetics, um, you know, but working, of course, means working. And then, what do you want with it? And, So it all depends on, and also what model. Like the oldest ones, I think, are more highly prized, like the little chiclet keyboard ones, even though they're not the best to actually use. They are the most historic. And I particularly like the ones like these ones here, as well as the chiclet pets with the 9-inch screen rather than the 12. I don't know. The 12-inch screen just looks, it's fine. It's just kind of overpowering. So what is the value? I don't know. I mean, I guess it's whatever you're willing to pay and what the the seller is willing to take. And what is that? I don't know. Anyway, soon I will. I think my goal was to work on the oldest pets, get as many of them figured and sorted and such, and then start selling some of them off, deciding which ones I would keep. And I've been distracted, shocking. So I really need to get back into the game of that. And I have other things to do. I've got to shuffle some things downstairs because I put things in a cabinet before I did, like, put all the pets in there, and I really need them. Like, there's this wonderful diagnostic board for the pet that Rudy's Retro Intel gave me, and it's like buried away, and here I am working on pets. So I've got things to move. Also, sometime this week, Rudy will drop by. He needs a super pet board, and I think I'm going to pass along. It's some version of the TI-99 that I got somewhere, sometime, some way, and I keep on saying, oh yeah, I should look at that. But I know I'm not going to. But Rudy looks at all kinds of things. He is he does, I think, he grew up on Apple things and other things, but he is not brand dedicated. And I don't suppose I am completely, totally, 100%, but mostly. So anyway, but also I think I'll pass on a couple of other things that hopefully will help him, because it's not out yet, and I don't know if he's even filmed it, but he's been working on a super pet, and there have been a lot of challenges. I'll just leave it at that. So I'm suspecting I will, at minimum, send him away with the TI-99 and the super pet board, which I haven't had a chance to test, of course, because I just haven't been feeling so great. So hopefully it will be of help to Mr. Rudy, and I'll see what else I might send along. I have a board from an 8032 I'm thinking of sending, and I got it from a fellow, and he said he can't figure it out. Whatever it is, he can't figure it out, and there's a lot of things that are already socketed, and he was baffled and just said, just good luck. So maybe I'll send that along with Mr. Rudy, because Rudy likes a challenge. And it's funny, when he got this super pet, he was very pleased that it didn't work. I don't know if he's still that pleased, because this has been going on and on and on. And there was a lot of things that were needing to be replaced. And he has sucked out a lot of chips and put in a lot of sockets. But it is a beautiful machine. I was really tempted to keep it, but decided, nope, it's time. And it's funny, because the machine came up, it was at basically I don't remember the name of the place, kind of like a cash converter, which was essentially like a pawn shop. And when I went there, and I can't remember his name, but there was a fellow there waiting for the doors to open. He was also a member of TPUG, and that I'd seen many, many times at the World of Commodore. And anyway, he had someone who was interested in the super pet, but it was all very congenial and all quite fine and dandy. And I said, well, it's not for me, it's for Rudy. And he said, oh yeah. Anyway, so he talked to his person, whatever, and it was also, yeah, that's fine. And probably, considering all the troubles there have been and the issues there have been and everything, everyone is just as happy that they didn't get it. But it is a beautiful machine, and I mean, it would have been easily for somebody with extra boards and things to just slide another board in and go from there, and then work on the board at another time. But anyway, I'm sure when Rudy's video comes out, you will see the incredible patience it takes at times to get these machines up and running and working. Indeed. So I have much to do. I don't know how much I'll actually get done today. I came home yesterday. I was very tired. I went to sleep. Then I got up in the middle of the night, and I could have done stuff then, but I was still very tired. So this morning I have accomplished not much. I did crank up the barbecue, and I have consumed protein, which should give me energy. And what else have I done? I fed Penny. Andrea's still asleep. And I have looked kind of fondly at doing things, which I have not done. And I came in here and said, well, what do I do here? What do I do? So I think one of the things I need to do is sort of clear up this table a bit. But I do need to do some work on that far pet. I believe, if you remember, it was doing fine. That's the 40th pet, I think it was. It was doing quite fine. And then I was trying to torture a disk drive, but something inside the pet went weird, and the directories are not coming up properly. And I have tried every, thing about the process of elimination and cables and disk drives. That's why there's an MSD drive here and different disks and different stuff. And what it's doing, it really looks, because I was thinking back and I've seen something like this. It looks like if you had 2 or 3 or 4 4040s connected and you were making copies and you were doing directories, it's like there's more than one directory of different disks trying to come in on top of each other. And when you do the print DS $ for the disk status, it does weird things. And it's funny things appears on the top. And that also is like when things are getting like overloaded or somehow stuck because there's more than one drive trying to talk. But there's not more than one drive. There's just one. So the 2 chips I suspect are the ones that are towards the back, and I always forget whether it's 6520 or the 6522s or whatever. Anyway, there's 2 of them, and they're not socketed. So I do need to see, and I guess I'll pick one and go from there. And if that doesn't fix it, I'll do the other. But I'm suspecting, and this is the funny thing about all these things, you can get these failures that are very subtle. And it's not that the chip is dead. It's just that a little wee bit of it has gone a little bit crazy. Can you imagine? And, well, yeah, a little bit crazy. So it works, but it's not right. And when you load programs, it's not right. So something is getting lost in the translation. And it could be something completely different, too. But that's where I'm going to start. So as I try and clear off this table, that's part of the process. So, but I do need to tidy up the table where the 1571s are. I have one of mine, and I have these other 2 that I've been working on that I've got put in the back burner, which they shouldn't have. And also then there's stuff in the pet room. So I suspect what I'll end up doing today is try and find a balance, and I will try and make a list. And it's funny how these things, what goes around comes around. Long ago, when I was a camper at Cedar Glen Conference Center, which used to be affiliated somewhat with the United Church of Canada, there was this fellow who showed up to give us a talk on time management. That was a big thing back then. And he was a vice principal in schools in, I think it was the old North York. Anyway, it was a very interesting talk, and he said you basically make a list, and then you put down another 2 columns. One is importance and urgency. And you rate things out of 5. And of course, anything that's a 10, which is important and urgent, gets done first, and nines, and down it goes. And it was very helpful. I haven't done it for a while, but I probably should. But here's the funny thing. Many decades later, when I was at Earl Haig, in comes this retired principal to fill in, and it's the same fellow who I met, like 30 years earlier. And I reminded him of his thing, and that indeed his talk had been beneficial, I think, to many people, I believe. And I still do it once in a while, but I think today I definitely will. And I don't know what has become of him since, because, people come, people go. But, when working in any field, I think it's important that people do try, if somebody has made a profound difference in their life, that they try and get word to them that, hey, that was helpful. That was good. Thanks a lot. And I've certainly had some of those moments over the years. And, there may be more. But, I always take a quiet satisfaction in knowing that in everything I do, well, I have an expression: if there's no fires to put out, then build bridges. And that's just talk to people and see what's what. Actually, just the other day, there was a student who I've seen around, and I don't really know much. I think there is a bit of a language barrier. But I said, so, ultimately, after you graduate, what do you want to do? They said, I want to be a photographer. And I said, oh, that's interesting. I know quite a bit about photography. So I said, okay, because everybody has a camera now on their phone. I said, okay, if you were going to take a picture of this hall, what would you do? So, of course, they did the obvious thing, and that is they went and stood in the middle of the hall, put the camera up by their eye, and shot a picture. And I knew that's what they would do, because, of course, that's, okay, here's a picture of the hall. Anyway, I looked at it and said, well, that's the hall. But, we can make this better, different. I mean, it's all about perspectives and looking at things from different angles, and higher or lower, to the side, or twisted, or something. And they seemed interested, so I said, well, let me show you. So I took my phone, and there was a water fountain close by. And you know what? Maybe I'll do a video on this at some point. Anyway, there was a water fountain close by, and then I looked, kind of getting the water fountain in the foreground, but trying to make everything else look interesting in the hallway. And I think I did. But of course, I mean, they could do it differently. It'd still be quite wonderful. And then I said, see, this is the hallway, but this is different. This is where you have to figure out where follow your eyes. And actually, it was, he's gone now, but it was a famous Canadian photographer. There are awards named after him, named Boris Primo. And I talked to him a time or two, and he said, yeah, you have to, you find the things people think they would have gone there, but they didn't. And you have to follow your eye and trust your eye and train your eyes. Because really, with a phone or a camera, I mean, I can take better pictures with a camera, but I can do just fine with a phone too. Anyway, so I took a picture from the one side of the hall with a water fountain in the foreground, but also lining up the lights, but also the reflection of the lights and the windows and stuff. And then said, okay, so that's one. And then went across the hall to where there were some lockers, and I put a lock in the foreground with the hallway kind of in a similar way. But still, it took a little tweaking to get everything just so. And that was sort of the first lesson that I gave to this person. Also told them about, lighting is important, and that, like a lot of people, I've heard people, just recently I heard somebody there in the library, and they said, oh yeah, we think we're going to shoot some yearbook pictures here because the lighting is so good. And basically they're talking about putting people in front of the window and shooting them because there's light. Well, then you end up with a whole bunch of shadowy figures. But turned to a different direction, a different configuration, that light can be a beautiful, magical thing. But I didn't say anything because I I really haven't got terribly involved in such things there, and I'm just like, oh yeah, here we go, another person who, it's where a little knowledge is dangerous. Anyway, I just, yeah, great, yeah, Anyway, actually, within a little while, I did see the student again, and there is a hallway that has, on sunny days, some really interesting lighting going on. And I did say to them, I said, this is a hall that, at some point, if you're looking to do and practice, and I did encourage them to go, just practice, shoot things, look at them. It's digital. It doesn't cost a dime to develop. You can look at it and say, and if you want to show me things, great, I'll tell you what I think. Anyway, there was one that is really good. And a lot of people at the school who do TikTok-y things sometimes use this hall because of its lighting. They do. Anyway, all about perspective lighting things. So yeah, maybe I'll do a video on this. Maybe I should do more videos on photography. I mean, right now, as one student I remember pointed out that, video it is photography. And it is. It's just, as they say, moving pictures. So I do try and pick a good frame and get things in. And right now I may be a little bit too well lit because I've got a light just over here. But, Anyway, I mean, when you're shooting pictures with a camera, all you have is, well, basically a rectangle or maybe a square or something. And so, take good care with that square or rectangle, mostly rectangle. Probably it's 16 by 9 in these days. It used to be, 3 by 4 or 4 by 3? It did. Anyway, so I am going to carry on and get things in motion. Maybe I'll make a list, but I'm not going to try and see, sometimes if you make a list that's too long, with too many things, it gets overwhelming, and then you say, oh, I can't do any of it. So I'm going to do my best not to do that. So you know what, right now I'm just going to touch the screen here. Nope, didn't change the lighting at all. Anyway, so I'm going to try and do a fairly short list and also use the Terry Kennedy technique of urgency and importance, and then set about doing things. I believe that's what I'll do. So, yes. Does that mean I really know what I'm going to do right now? Besides, well, maybe I'll make a list. But besides that, no, I'm not sure. But I have ideas. And I will try and make the list and stick to the list as best as I can. Meanwhile, of course, there will be things in between that come up that I must get done. These things happen. Anyway. So, it's one of those things where some people don't understand that things that aren't related to what you need to get done are related. For, in this case, the soldering table is full, but I have something on here that needs soldering and desoldering. So in order to get the table clear, I've got to deal with this that's on the table, so then I can move on and get to the 1571s and other projects. Meanwhile, of course, laundry, dishes, playing with Penny, hanging out with Andrew. And tonight, there's a fellow who went to Earl Haig. His name is Dwight Powell. He plays on the Dallas Mavericks, and they are playing a critical game in the NBA playoffs. So I'll probably stay up late for that. So, anyway, right now, I mean, I don't have to say this, but I will. I think I will visit the bathroom, come up with a list of sorts, and then proceed with it, and see what I can accomplish today before I start feeling too tired. I have medicated with cold stuff, and I will probably pop some cough candies. You may be able to hear in my voice it's a little deeper and raspy, and it is. And then I will see about surgery, I think. Anyway, I'll make the list. And the other thing about time management is like, if I can get the laundry going and I can have other things like dishes soaking and stuff at the same time, that too is efficient. So it may not serve the desoldering and soldering and stuff, but some things can just take care of themselves, sort of. And actually, when it comes to dishes, there are things that get on there that are pretty gross and stuff. And people are like, oh, they scrape and they scrape and they scrape. And you know what? I find no matter what mess I've made, whether it be cheese or who knows what, if I just like put it in the hot water, and as the water even gets colder, it's not so hot, but just let it soak. And like even just, if I leave something in there for an hour, chances are whatever was on there is going to come off quite fine. So I'm not stressed about, oh, I have to do it now. I have to do it now. I have to get all kinds of scrapers and things and stuff. And nah, just let it soak. So, oh yeah. So begins. One thing, while I'm thinking of this, is this 4040 seems quite fine. I should do some more tests on it. But another thing I should do, because I know it's working, is the screws that hold the drive in are sitting here. And they could get lost, and I don't like losing screws, so I should put them back in. And that is itself is an operation. And I really should, I suppose, clean the heads and grease the rails, but I haven't. But for the moment, I think probably what I'll end up doing, and trying to get the table clear here so I can work here, is put the screws back in the drive. And, actually, I'm not sure if no, I really don't have a computer here to hook it up to properly to test it. So I'll probably put the screws in, and the MSD SD2 dual drive, which is a magical, wonderful thing, will probably go under the table or somewhere else to give me space to work. Anyway, that's about all I have to say about that. Have a lovely, lovely day. I hope you're healthy. David Bradley from the TV room, signing off. Bye for now.